Hey, fellow Nevada dreamer, or maybe just as someone curious about the wildest housing deals in America. Here's something that'll break your brain. Right now in Nevada, yes, the same Nevada where Vegas penthouses sell for more than a small country's GDP, there are towns where you can buy a full house for less than what most people spend on a used Honda Civic. And no, I'm not talking about a shed in the desert with a coyote roommate. I'm talking about an actual house with walls, a roof mostly, and doors that actually lock. But hold up. Before you start packing your bags and Googling how to survive a summer in 115-degree heat, let me paint you the full picture. Because Nevada's housing market is basically two different universes crammed into the same state. One where the rich are bidding millions on Vegas condos, and another where houses are practically being given away. Here's the catch. Every one of these too cheap to be real listings comes with baggage. And once you see what's really hiding behind the bargain price tag, you'll understand why most people would rather walk away than sign the papers. So today, we're diving into the 10 Nevada towns where home prices are so low, you'll think it's a scam. Make sure to hit subscribe right now because what you're about to hear could change the way you look at Nevada real estate forever. Number 1, Ely. Deep in eastern Nevada sits Ely, a town that once thrived on copper mines and railroad jobs. Decades ago, this place was buzzing with workers, families, and steady paychecks. But when the mines slowed down and industries moved out, Ely was left behind. Today, you can find houses here listed for under $120,000, some even dipping below $90,000. That's less than a year's rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Las Vegas. On paper, it looks like the deal of a lifetime. But the reality? Ely is isolated. The nearest big city is hours away across endless desert highways. Jobs are scarce. Young people move out as fast as they can, and services that once kept the town alive, like shops, schools, and small businesses, have been shrinking for years. Locals describe it as a town frozen in time. Investors sometimes swoop in thinking they've struck gold, but without renters or buyers to keep demand alive, the so-called bargain becomes a trap. Ely is a perfect example of how fast prosperity can collapse. What used to be a booming mining hub is now a community struggling to stay relevant. And if a town with such a proud history can sink this low, what about the places that never had much to begin with? The next stop on our list is a town that lived and almost died by the military. Number 2, Hawthorne. Welcome to Hawthorne, a tiny desert town with a massive secret. It's home to one of the largest ammunition depots in the world. For decades, the U.S. military was the heartbeat of this community. Jobs were steady, families stayed, and the town thrived. But when the military scaled back operations, the lifeline was cut. Thousands of jobs vanished, and with them, the stability of the housing market. Today, houses in Hawthorne regularly list for under $100,000, some even slipping into the $70,000 range. It sounds like a steal, but here's the catch. Outside of the depot, there isn't much left to fuel the economy. Businesses closed, young people left, and what remains is a shrinking population holding on to the past. For newcomers, that cheap house comes with the challenge of finding steady work in a place where opportunities are few and far between. The strangest part? You'll see rows of homes priced like used cars sitting in the same town that literally stores millions of rounds of ammunition. It's a bizarre paradox. Nevada real estate doesn't get much weirder than this. But Hawthorne isn't alone. Just down the highway is another town that once thrived on silver and dreams of fortune, but now leans on UFO tourism and ghost stories to survive. Number 3, Tonopah. Tonopah was once called the Queen of the Silver Camps. In the early 1900s, this little desert town exploded with wealth when silver was discovered. Fortune seekers poured in, businesses thrived, and for a while, Tonopah felt unstoppable. Fast forward to today, and the story couldn't be more different. The mines are mostly gone, the boom is long over, and what's left behind is a community struggling to reinvent itself. Houses here can sell for under $110,000, some even closer to $80,000. For Nevada, that's shockingly cheap. What Tonopah does have now is ghosts and UFOs. Tourists pass through for the haunted Mizpah Hotel or to catch a glimpse of the night sky in what's been called one of the darkest places in America. There's even an alien research center vibe that attracts Area 51 fanatics. But tourism alone can't rebuild a housing market. The result? Rows of affordable homes that look tempting on Zillow, but a local economy that just isn't strong enough to support long-term growth. Tonopah is proof that history and hype can't always keep a town alive. And if silver and aliens can't save it, what happens to a small city that doesn't have either of those attractions to lean on? For that answer, we head north, into a town where isolation itself is the biggest curse. Number 4, Winnemucca. In the heart of northern Nevada sits Winnemucca, a town that, on the surface, looks like the definition of small-town charm. It's got a quiet main street, a bit of cowboy history, and wide-open landscapes. But behind that postcard image is a housing market that tells a very different story. Homes here often list for under $130,000, with some dipping under 6 figures. Compared to Reno or Las Vegas, where prices soar, Winnemucca looks like a bargain. But the question is, why are they so cheap? The answer comes down to location. Winnemucca is hours away from the nearest major city. The isolation means fewer job opportunities, fewer schools, and fewer reasons for new families to move in. Agriculture and mining once kept the town alive, but as those industries pulled back, the housing market followed. What's left is a quiet community where houses sit unsold, not because they're unlivable, but because demand simply isn't there. Investors glance at Zillow and see cheap opportunity, but locals know the truth. Without steady growth, those low prices aren't a hidden gem. They're a warning sign. And Winnemucca isn't the only place where cheap houses come at a cost. Head east and you'll find a border town built on casinos, where the entire housing market depends on whether the slot machines stay hot. Number 5, West Wendover. On the far edge of Nevada, right on the Utah border, sits West Wendover, a town that lives and dies by one thing: casinos. For years, this was a hotspot for Salt Lake City residents who wanted Vegas-style fun without the long drive south. The neon lights kept hotels full, restaurants busy, and housing prices steady. But when the casino industry slows down, the cracks appear fast. Fewer tourists mean fewer jobs, and when jobs dry up, people leave. That's exactly what's been happening here. Houses that once sold for well over $200,000 are now listed closer to $100,000, or even under. The risk is obvious. West Wendover doesn't have a backup plan. The entire economy is tied to the casinos, and if they struggle, so does everyone else. Locals know this cycle all too well. One strong year, then a sharp decline, leaving homes stuck on the market for months. For outside buyers, the low prices look tempting, but unless you're planning to work in the casinos, or you're okay living in a town with limited options, the bargain can quickly turn into a burden. West Wendover shows what happens when a city bets everything on one industry. And just a short drive from Las Vegas, there's another town that proves even being close to the big city doesn't guarantee success. Number 6, Pahrump. Just an hour west of Las Vegas lies Pahrump, a town that was once hyped as the next big thing for affordable housing near the city. In the early 2000s, people rushed in, buying land and building homes, convinced Pahrump would explode as Vegas grew. Then came the 2008 housing crash, and Pahrump never fully recovered. Entire developments were abandoned, foreclosure signs popped up everywhere, and prices collapsed. Today, you can still find homes listed for under $150,000, some even closer to $100,000, while similar places just over the mountain in Vegas sell for 5 times as much. But the low prices come with problems. Pahrump has a reputation, a rougher edge, limited jobs, and a slower pace of life that doesn't appeal to everyone. Crime rates have ticked up, infrastructure lags behind, and many of those empty lots from the housing boom still sit undeveloped, like scars from a dream that never came true. For some, Pahrump is a bargain worth taking: cheap land, quiet living, and close enough to Vegas for work or fun. But for others, it's proof that not every Vegas suburb turns into gold. And if Pahrump shows how a dream can collapse overnight, the next town proves that sometimes the biggest problem isn't the economy at all, it's the reputation. Number 7, Battle Mountain. Battle Mountain is a place with a name that sounds epic, like it should be the setting for a blockbuster movie. But the reality? Locals know it as the town that got stuck with one of the worst reputations in America. Back in the 2000s, Washington Post and even Life magazine labeled it the armpit of America. It was meant as a joke, but the nickname stuck, and it crushed the town's image. Once a mining hub with steady jobs, Battle Mountain suddenly became better known as the punchline of a bad joke. Today, you can buy homes here for around $100,000, or sometimes less. On paper, that sounds like a steal compared to Reno or Vegas. But reputation matters. New buyers hesitate, Businesses avoid setting up shop, and young families don't exactly dream of raising kids in the so-called armpit. To make things worse, the town has struggled with limited amenities, a shrinking job base, and the same isolation that hurts so many Nevada towns. What's left is a housing market where low prices reflect not just economics, but stigma. Battle Mountain shows how perception alone can drag a town down, and if a nickname can damage a community this badly, imagine what happens when the very land itself becomes the problem. That's the reality of our next stop. Number 8, Lovelock. Lovelock sits right along Interstate 80, about halfway between Reno and Elko. On the surface, it looks like the kind of small town you'd pull into for gas, a meal, maybe even a night at a quirky motel. But behind the pit stop vibe lies a housing market that's been stuck in neutral for decades. Homes here often sell for under $120,000, some even closer to $90,000. That's a fraction of what you'd pay in Reno, just over an hour away. So why isn't everyone rushing to buy? The simple answer: Lovelock doesn't have much left to keep people there. Agriculture once fueled the town, and the nearby prison provided steady jobs, but neither created long-term growth. Young people move out, businesses close, and what's left is a community that feels like it's slowly fading away. Even the historic charm, like its old courthouse or the famous Lover's Lock Plaza, can't hide the fact that demand is thin. Investors might see potential in cheap property, but locals know the reality. Without new industries or real growth, prices stay low for a reason. Lovelock is the kind of place where houses are cheap not because they're falling apart, but because time passed the town by. And if that sounds bad, wait until you see what happened in a city that once promised endless growth but collapsed almost overnight. Number 9, Fernley. Just 30 miles east of Reno lies Fernley, a town that was once marketed as the perfect, affordable alternative to the big city. During the early 2000s, people poured in, buying up homes and expecting Fernley to explode with growth. And for a while it worked. Prices climbed fast, new subdivisions popped up everywhere, and the future looked bright. Then came the 2008 housing crash, and Fernley got hit harder than almost anywhere else in Nevada. Prices collapsed by more than 60%. Entire neighborhoods were flooded with foreclosures, and families who had stretched to buy during the boom walked away when their mortgages sank underwater. Even today, Fernley still hasn't fully recovered. Homes often list for $200,000 or less, making them cheap compared to Reno just up the road. But the scars from the crash never really healed. Oversupply, stalled developments, and a shaky job market mean many houses sit longer on the market than you'd expect for a town so close to a major city. Fernley is a reminder that sometimes the next big suburb never makes it. And if Fernley can collapse despite its location, what happens to Nevada's smaller towns that don't even have Reno or Vegas next door to lean on? That brings us to our final stop, a community that shows just how fragile Nevada's housing market can really be. Number 10, Yerington. Yerington, tucked away in western Nevada, was once a proud farming and mining community. Families stayed for generations, jobs were steady, and the town had that classic small-town Nevada feel. But as industries slowed down and bigger cities pulled people away, Yerington found itself stuck. Today, you can find homes here for under $150,000, sometimes even around $100,000. Compared to Reno, less than an hour's drive away, those numbers feel unreal. But cheap comes with a cost. The local economy hasn't kept up. Farming struggles with water shortages, mining is a fraction of what it once was, and young people leave to chase opportunities in Reno or Las Vegas. What's left is an aging community, shrinking schools, and a housing market that looks like a bargain but doesn't attract much demand. Yerington is the perfect example of Nevada's hidden paradox. Beautiful landscapes, friendly people, and houses that seem too good to be true, until you realize why the price tags are so low. And when you put Yerington alongside Ely, Tonopah, Fernley, and the rest, a pattern starts to emerge. One that tells us something bigger about the future of Nevada real estate. So there you have it, 10 towns across Nevada where homes sell for prices so low, you'd think it had to be a scam. From Ely's abandoned mining past to Pahrump's burst housing bubble, from Battle Mountain's reputation issues to Fernley's crash scars, every one of these places proves the same point. Cheap always comes with a catch. Sometimes the problem is isolation, hours from the nearest big city. Other times it's economics, industries leaving, and jobs drying up. And in some cases, it's reputation or risk that keeps demand away. Whatever the reason, those bargain price tags hide a reality most buyers don't want to face. The real question is, are these homes an opportunity or a trap? For some investors, they might be a chance to grab land at rock-bottom prices and hope for a rebound. For locals, they're a reminder that not every dream of Nevada living ends with bright lights and big wins. But what about you? Would you take the gamble on one of these towns if the price was right? Or do you think these houses are cheap for a reason? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into America's strangest housing markets, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because today's list was Nevada, but tomorrow it could be your state.